Yes guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today's video we're going to be doing mastering, but this time it ain't any old mastering. We're going to be mastering on a budget, so we're going to be using affordable plugins and we're also going to be using stock plugins from Ableton. So before we dive into the steps, what actually is mastering? So mastering is the final step in music production, and it's where you prepare your tracks for distribution, whether that be on Spotify, Apple Music or wherever you stream your records. So what we're doing is we're making sure that the sound is loud enough, it's cohesive, and it's ready for streaming, and it's also ready to play in the clubs.
I will love you endlessly.
So first things first, and this is probably the most important bit, and please don't forget this bit, the mix has to be good before you can start mastering. Now another thing we need to make sure is that the low end is clean. If you play it in clubs and it sounds messy in the low end, then it is literally going to sound like someone is farting down a microphone. Now the kick and bass, it should be balanced, so we need to make sure that nothing is clipping. So if we press shift in Ableton, we'll bring up this view here. So what we want to look for is that nothing is going into the red. So if we go back into Ableton, I'm going to put a 16 bar loop on the drop. We're going to play it through, we're going to go back into this view, and we're going to make sure that nothing is going into the red. So nothing's going into the red. Now what I want to do is you want to look at the master channel, which is this one here, the one that's normally named main unless you've changed it to master. So before you start mastering, you want to leave some headroom. So you want to have around about -4 to -6 dB, just so that we have space to work with the master. Okay, so the first that we're going to use is an EQ. Now for this example, we're going to be using an EQ8 out of Ableton, which is Ableton stock. So if you're in FL Studio, you can also use the parametric EQ as well. So the goal here is to make subtle adjustments, and it's not to fix the mix. So what we want to do is we want to cut any unnecessary rumble at the bottom using a low cut. Maybe not as sharp as that. So let's press play. Obviously if we do it too much, it's going to take out all the EQ. It's going to take out all that low end. So we just wanted to take out that low rumble. So if your track is sounding a bit too harsh in that high end, what we can do is we can just turn on this number 8 here, and we can use a one like this, and we just want to lower to about 8 to 10,000 hertz. Just a tiny bit, you don't want it too much, because if you do it too much it'll sound like this. And we really don't want that. So what we're just going to do, just slightly lower it between 8 to 10,000 hertz. So this is without the EQ, and then with. And next up we're talking about compression. Now the reason why we're using compression is to control the dynamics and also glue the track together. So a simple stock compressor can do. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into here, we're going to grab the glue compressor, we're going to drag that into here like this. So now what we're going to do, we're going to set it on a low ratio, around 2 to 1, and aim for a gentle compression of around 1 to 2 dB of gain reduction. So we don't want to squash that track. We just want to tame any of the peaks. So let's have a listen. Okay, so now we're on to limiting. So for this example, we're going to be using a stock limiter. So if we just grab the Ableton limiter, drag that on. So if we just set the ceiling to -1, or around -1, just to avoid clipping. And then you want to slowly bring up the gain until you reach -9 LUFS. So we're going to press play on the drop, and we're going to bring it up until it reaches -9 LUFS. Now this bit is optional, but it can be cool to add some stereo width to your master. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag in the Ozo 9 stereo imager. And what we're going to do is we're going to focus around the mids and the highs. So we're going to focus on around these sections here. So if you cut off from around about 250 hertz and then cut off from around about 3000, 2500, 3000. So I'll just cut it off from 2000. So we're going to listen to where the mids are sitting, which is this section.
My body.
And then this is the highs. And we're going to be focusing on those two little bits. And the reason why we're doing just the mids and the highs is because if we do the lows as well, if you widen them too much, it's just going to get lost in the mix and we're not going to be able to have that punch anymore. So it's just a touch of stereo width. So what we're going to do is from around about the 250 mark where we was before, up until this 2,500 mark, we're just going to push it a tiny bit with this band marker here. And we're just going to push it until we feel like it's sitting nicely. So let's play it along.
Fresh. My body. Gucci. Armani. Fresh.
So that's really wide.
My body.
That's mono.
Gucci. Armani. Let's get so fresh. My body.
Now we're going to do the same with the highs.
Fresh. My body.
Really wide.
Gucci.
Mono.
Armani. Fresh. My body. Gucci.
And then with band 1, we're just going to listen to band 1. Which you can hear is mostly just the bass and the kick. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring that one down to make sure that's staying mono. So that's completely mono. So let's listen to it in the track.
Armani. Let's get so fresh. My body. Gucci. Armani.
Really pushes it and really gives it that lovely, nice together sound. You know, it's glued together. It feels nice. It feels smooth. It also feels wide in places where it needs to feel wide. It feels mono where it needs to feel mono in that low end. The low end isn't getting lost, and we're not overdoing it. We're not adding 50 different plugins onto the channel because you don't need that. You know, the simpler the better, I say. You know, the less plugins that you can use to make something sound better, normally the better it comes out, and normally it's the better that it sounds as well. So just to recap, we went through at the start making sure that nothing's clipping, nothing's in the red. We made sure the main track, the master channel, is not clipping and going into the red as well. Then we moved on to the EQ. We took out the rumble of the low end, not cutting it too harshly, but we just cut out that bit of low end at the bottom. And then we lowered the highs a bit because this track, it was kind of, the highs were going too much and it was kind of quite harsh as well. Then moved on to compressors, make sure that we put that ratio quite low, and we just want to make sure that it's just taking off probably 3 to 4 dB. You know, it's just reducing down 3 to 4 dB. We moved on to limiter, make it louder, make sure that the ceiling is at around about -1, just so it doesn't clip, and then we want to make sure that the sound pulling that gain up is going to around about -9 LUFS, and that's normally perfect for in a club or in a club setting, or if it's in like radio setting, if you're making like an edit or something and a DJ wants to play it on the radio, it's perfect. If you want to put it on SoundCloud like an edit, it's perfect as well. So I want you to let me know in the comments as well what you do for mixing and mastering. You know, do you mix it yourself? Do you master it yourself? What plugins do you use? What other videos do you want me to do? Make sure you comment down below as well. Make sure to like, subscribe. Until next time, peace.